Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. You already know who this guy is. He's one of the fastest rising rookie pros of 2020. I want to call him Rookie of the Year, but we can argue about that in a few minutes. Please welcome from the UK, Jamie the Giant, aka Jamie Johal Christian, correct?
Well, nearly Christian-Johal.
Damn it. I knew I was going to mess that up. Christian, then Johal.
Yeah.
Please make a note of it.
Thank you very much, Ron. That's a brilliant introduction. Bit of a tongue twister with the second name. We'll get onto that, I'm sure. But
Okay.
yeah, thank you very much, first and foremost, for having me on the podcast. It's been a long time coming, but I'm excited to be on here with yourself and discuss.
Yeah. I mean, Giles has already talked to you at least 3 times on the record that I can recall.
Yeah, I think Giles hogs me a bit, to be fair. He's been a bit...
He
should have shared me a bit more.
He does that. He does that with all the UK pros because obviously that's his scene, and he's the greatest living journalist in the United Kingdom right now, as far as I'm concerned. But this is about you, sir. I kind of knew who you were before this year, but you weren't on my radar. But the main reason I wasn't really considering you as someone to be mindful of was because once I heard you're 6'5", I'm like, before I even saw your pictures, I'm like, he probably sucks. He's probably horrible because I've known a lot of guys around that range who tried to be bodybuilders, and it's rough. Most of them just don't have the right structure. The limb proportions are all wrong. The worst thing is when you can see a picture of somebody and immediately know, oh my God, that guy must be like 6'5" or 6'6" because they look stretched out. They look like a really tall guy who's not suited for bodybuilding. But when I see your pictures, if I didn't know how tall you were, I would just estimate you're like every other schmuck that bodybuilds who's between 5'6" and 5'10", which is a good thing. You're not built like the typical ectomorphic, very tall guy. And man, even looking at your progress pictures, most people look way better in their progress pictures than they do on stage. And you are one of the rare exceptions.
Yeah.
I watched the stream from Alicante, and when you came out, I was very, very impressed. Later, when the professional pictures came out, even more so, the HD, because stream on these computer screens is never the greatest.
Yeah.
And then British Grand Prix, same thing. Saw the professional pictures. Condition was right on point. Very, very complete physique. You could use some hamstrings, this, but man, for a tall guy especially, I know your legs have always been good, but that's the key thing for a guy that tall is 90% of bodybuilders over 6'1" or 6'2" just have the shittiest legs. Horrible. And so let's learn about you, sir. What kind of sports were you into growing up? When did you start becoming aware of like muscles and bodybuilding?
Well, sports-wise, first off, I was into athletics at school from a very young age, and my sport was the shot put. So wow. I guess that's the same in America. It's not like soccer and football. It's throwing a lump of metal. Yeah. And I guess that being tall and quite strong was an advantage of that, because I did that to a high level. In the UK, it's called a county level, which is quite high. And then I was always into soccer. So I played soccer for 2 teams. I think you froze, is it? Am I coming through okay?
No, you look great. Keep talking.
Yeah. So I played soccer from the age of about 8 until, I'm talking probably early 20s.
Wow. So, I know Nathan Dasher was semi-professional at that. He was almost a pro. Were you at that level too?
I was a decent, not borderline semi-pro, but not quite at that level. I think that was the kind of time that I realized that football was more recreational than the bodybuilding was becoming. And the bodybuilding was really hindered by the football.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I was taking a step forward with the bodybuilding and growing, and then I was just burning it all off playing the soccer. So I had to knock that on the head, and that's when I really started to make some progress. But in terms of bodybuilding and muscle and where I came first attached to that, my uncle was a bodybuilder. He competed, and I remember seeing him do his posing routine in his front room in front of my mum, who's his sister. And I just thought, wow, I was very engaged by the muscle and just wondered how that was possible. So I started training at his gym. That gym had an in-house show, like a small show just for the members. I competed there in 2009, didn't place. but that made me just want to delve in deeper to this sport and play and go again the next year, and actually won the competition the following year. So, and that was it.
I'm just curious, was your uncle like a mentor? Did he help teach you all the basics or no?
He did. We trained together quite a lot in my early 20s. Okay. Him and my other uncle, we were kind of like a trio. They used to put me through the mill, but yeah, I learned a lot. And that kind of learned me the foundations of intensity and just like range of motion and form. It kind of gave me a good base to work off, to be fair.
Yeah. So when you first started lifting weights, were you already the same height, 6'5"?
Yes, I was 6'5" at the age of 16. Wow, I guess I stopped around there.
You stunted your growth. If you stopped lifting weights, you could have been 7'5". But so what did you weigh? And I'm glad you know pounds and not stones and kilos. What did you weigh in pounds when you started?
Yeah, so when I started, I was like 180, 85 pounds.
Wow. Okay. And did you grow? Did you put weight on quickly or not?
I would say so, but I remember in my first competition, I was still 185 pounds, 190 pounds. So I guess the weight I'd gained was all pulled back off. But I was a lot leaner at that weight. Well, that was my starting point. And then I remember always saying, I'd love to get to 16 stone, which I think is about 230 pounds, maybe. Okay. I remember, having that goal, and then I achieved that goal, and it's like, right, we get to 240, 250, 260, 270. You know yourself, it's a never, like the film, the never-ending story.
Of course. Great movie. Yeah. I didn't know if you would know that movie. So when you first started competing, it was just a local gym show, which actually that was Victor Martinez's exact story. He did the local gym show too. Did anybody encourage you there to say, man, you got to do one of these local, like a city show or a county show or something like that? Did anybody encourage you with, say you had good potential?
To be fair, I went to the next level off my own back. The community of bodybuilding in my local town wasn't very big at all. And I think now in the UK's bodybuilding scene has obviously grown a lot since I started, because now it's seen as something that's quite positive and sought after, and people respect the culture and the attitude of the guys over here. But when I started, there was really nobody that I knew doing it. It was very much off my own back that led me to compete with an organisation called the UKBFF, which was the organisation that everybody turned pro with in the UK back then.
Right.
And that's how it all started. Yeah, so it was very much off my own back, and I did well in my first few shows. The classic bodybuilder at 210 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
That was up to 2012, and then I had a few years off. Come back in 2015 as a super heavyweight, and that's when the kind of chasing the pro card started, when I won the super heavyweights in 2015.
So when you were competing in classic in those early shows, did you know in your heart, sooner or later, I'm going to have to just take a real solid break from competing, take a year, or it ended up being what, 3 years between that and when you came back to competition?
Yeah, it's 2012, 2015. So yeah, 3 years.
Wow. And how much muscle did you gain in those 3 years?
I gained 50 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So a decent amount.
So, obviously you stand out because I got a little funny story. I trained for a long time with a guy, Giles knows very well, a guy named Chris Griffin. We call him the Goon. He was 6'5", but now he's in his 40s, so he's down to like 6'4.5". That'll happen to you too. But we would whenever we went out to places together, to contests or whatever, you're drawn to these tall guys, and even if they're not as thick and bulky as a shorter bodybuilder, it's just, naturally your attention is drawn up. And that's why it's so impressive. I know it's harder for a guy your height to fill out those long limbs and the big frame, but when you do, my goodness, it's just like something out of this world. When, like what's your off-season weight at your heaviest?
At the minute I'm 320, and I think I'll push that to about 340, which will be the heaviest I've ever been. Previously, my heaviest was 325 to 330, so I'm not far off, and 2 weeks post-show.
And that's a very lean 320, because you're still posting pictures. You're holding your condition pretty well. You must be reverse dieting or something. But
yeah, I'm the old post-show water bloat at the minute, which is nice, but subsided nicely as well.
yeah, but like I said, when someone of that stature has that much muscle on him, it's a sight to see. You don't see that every day. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you, if you ever get to the Boston, Massachusetts area, there's a gym where you would not be out of place. You would not be.
Okay.
I don't know why this one gym. It's called Bayshore Athletic Club. I have no explanation for this. And these aren't basketball players. These are just regular dudes. Average height, probably 6 foot to 6'5".
Wow.
Most of the why? I don't know.
Part of the membership, 6 foot plus.
Yeah, but I'm saying you would walk in there and they would look at you because of the physique, but height wise, nobody would blink. They'd be like, oh, another 6'5", 6'4" guy. So I'm curious because I did train with a guy. I'm a little under 5'8" now. I'm shrinking, but I trained with a guy about your height for a couple of years, and a lot of machines he couldn't really use. He couldn't. A lot of like the hammer strength machines, they're not really built for anyone that's really short or really tall. Are you able to use a lot of machines, or do you have to use mostly free weights because of your height?
No, the machines that I have in the UK, I don't know whether they're different. I can't imagine they're very different. But I trained with another guy, 6'6" as well, Josh Maley. You might know him from social media.
Oh yeah.
But we fit in most of the machines. It's an awkward sight.
Yeah.
But I guess we make the machines fit us.
Yeah.
We're always on the widest grips and just fitting, but we make it work.
Are there any exercises that your stature and your limbs are really advantageous, and others where they're not so advantageous?
Yeah, I've always realised that having the longer limbs lends quite well to like fly movements. Strangely enough, I'm a very good presser, and that would go against someone with longer limbs. But I don't know whether mechanically the setup just works right. But anything now, now I'm getting a bit older with a few niggles in the lower back. Anything like squat related without a back support, so free bar squatting is off the radar. Hip hinge movements have to be very careful. So deadlifts and RDLs, they're in the plan, but they're more focused on kind of time and attention and making the muscles work harder without excessive load.
Yeah.
And then legs, I up for the leg press or the hack squat, just purely for the mechanical reasons that if I free bar squat, the hips and the lower back will just be gone. That will fail before the muscles.
Gotcha. Because I see you're coached by Jordan Peters, one of the strongest human beings I've ever seen.
Yes.
built like a tank, that man.
Yeah, he is.
And there's such a tradition now of super strong bodybuilders out of the UK. The late Luke, so strong. Luke Sandow, James Hollingshead, very strong guy. Nathan moves a ton of weight. Is it kind of like a pride thing over there where you pride yourselves on being not just big but also strong, or is it just that's just the way you train, going back to like the Dorian days?
Yeah, I think it's over the past 5 years or so, people like Jordan, James and Luke, they have shown that being strong lends itself to having this thick, dense muscle, like Dorian. So I guess others have followed suit. And I'm very much accustomed to the style of training that Jordan obviously progresses at, which is progressive overload.
Yeah.
And in the past year, I've built a lot more muscle. So it works. And that's why people are following suit over here. They're looking at what people are doing. I think social media now is a lot, I wouldn't say to blame, but it's a lot of the cause for what people do. Because people are very impressionable, and they watch people with a higher following online doing certain movements, doing certain lifts, and they follow suit. And I think that's been a lot of the past 2 to 3 years. Heavy lifting has been very much at the forefront because no one wants to see a guy bench pressing 2 plates a side.
It's true.
Whether I always say to people, stay in your own lane and lift what you can in your own limits and progress in your own limits. But I think with social media, if you're not a very strong character, it's very hard to do that. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that pushes people beyond their limits before they probably would themselves.
Yeah.
But it's definitely
my next question is, give me a few of your best lifts in the gym.
Okay, so I have incline bench press for chest, the 180 dumbbells before, 180 pounds.
Okay.
So that's pretty steady. I know James and Luke, you know, they're in the realms of the 200s, 220s, but they're in their own league. They don't count.
Correct. Another species.
I would say pressing wise, pressing 160-pound dumbbells for shoulder press for reps.
Sure.
They're some of my most impressive lifts of pressing. Back and legs, I would say I'm just in the normal range. So
yeah. Well, you know what? You're not a power lifter. You're not competing in World's Strongest Man, so it's not that important really in the scheme of things. I was curious to see you were actually a firefighter for 7 years also.
I was, yes.
Yeah. So how did you did that for a good chunk of time? Did you enjoy it? What made you not want to do it anymore?
I enjoyed it, but I always said in the fire service, especially the more time that passed, the deeper into the bodybuilding rabbit hole I went. That was very much, even though I was a full-time firefighter, I called myself a part-time firefighter and a full-time bodybuilder. And the guys on my shift, in my station, all laughed at me and knew that was the case as well, because I got away with a lot.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to eat.
Being completely honest now, yeah, I was eating on the back of the truck when we was going to fire calls. Yeah. I actually went to a fire one night at someone's house. The house burnt down, bless them. There was a kitchen fire, so the kitchen was gone. But my thought after the fire was out was, right, I need to find some food. So I was in the burnt kitchen's cupboard. I got a jar of peanut butter.
That is awesome.
I was still safe. But yes, I always said as well that I was probably the worst firefighter. Maybe the best looking one visually, like the advert style firefighter, but physically incapable of doing the job.
Really? Well, it's, I know, many years ago, my wife went to, when we lived in Los Angeles, they had like an open call for, I think they were in trouble. They didn't have enough female firefighters in Los Angeles at the time. So they were under a lot of pressure to get some. So they had this huge event with all the obstacles and all that stuff that carrying the dummies and carrying ladders and all that. And you must have had to go, fire academy is fairly rigorous from what I understand. So you at least had to get through that, right?
Oh yeah. The fire academy was quite easy because when I joined the fire service, I was still in the realms of 230. But fast forward that 7 years and I'm trying to climb ladders at 300 and pull around dummies and rescue live casualties and climbing through small spaces. Not the best thing for me.
Yeah. Did you ever talk to Steve Kuklo about it?
No, I think my career obviously is taking where it is.
Yeah.
So I don't think I was never at the level where I could talk to these pros, but give me a few pro shows next year, mixing the circles. I've already started speaking to some, which is great because, it's nice to feel part of a group. So maybe me and Steve will chat about it in the future, but I have not had a chance to yet.
Very cool guy. You guys will get along great. I guarantee you. Another thing I was surprised, you're also a gym owner. You've owned it for quite a while, correct?
Yeah. So you asked the reason I left the fire services because I was trying to forge a path into being able to just focus more on bodybuilding. So I knew that ultimately I needed to leave the fire service. Although it is quite a cushy job, it still didn't lend itself perfectly to the environment I needed to become the best bodybuilder possible. Yeah. So I needed that to change. And whether it was by luck, I got offered the gym at the end of 2016 and I snapped it up, left the fire service. When many people called me mad because the fire service was an easy 30 grand a year, which I guess in dollars is like 50,000 a year.
Yeah, but all kinds of benefits. All kinds of benefits.
But for me, the biggest benefit was having more time to become a better bodybuilder. So having my own gym just made the complete sense. Yeah. And since then, I've owned it. Luckily, I have staff who run the gym for me. So I can pretty much concentrate on eating, my online clients and training. And that's why I've got to where I have, because the last 3 years have been focused 100% on just being better.
Yeah. What's the name of the gym?
It's called Ilkeston Gym and Fitness, and it's in a town in Ilkeston called in Derbyshire. Sorry, called Ilkeston.
What's the name of the gym? Elkerston? What?
It's called Ilk, I-L-K, Ilk.
Yeah, yeah.
Ilkeston.
Ilkeston. Okay. Yeah.
That's it. It's very hard. It's very hard to pronounce for people over here. So.
Oh, okay. I mean, usually the names over there are fairly easy to pronounce. You don't have any weird. Because here we have a lot of the same. If you ever go to New England, which is where I live, we didn't steal them. They took all the names from England and made cities and towns over here out of them. But I never heard of that one particular. Do you train at your own gym, or you just don't want to? Because I've known gym owners who, just because everyone knows them and they're always coming at them when they're in the gym, they'd rather go somewhere else to train. Are you cool with training at your own place?
That's a great question, because this year has led me to do something that it wasn't on the radar, to be honest. This year has led me to kind of want my own place, like a private facility, because the stakes are higher now, which creates more pressure, which then in turn creates like an internal pressure and an internal level of anxiety about being bothered, about being taken away from your work, because when we're in the gym, that is our time to work.
Right. And
the general pop, just general member at the gym doesn't understand that.
Yeah.
They just think, it's Jamie, the gym owner. We can go and say hi. We can ask him how he's doing, ask him about comp prep, ask him how his diet's going. But you're getting those questions 100 times a day, which becomes very frustrating. So the line I want to go down now is make my life even better and easier, and have a private facility alongside the gym that I can train at and just be carefree, zone in, and get the job done.
That's a great idea. So when you picked up that gym in 2016, was it to your liking already, or did you have to go out and get a lot of different machines and things that you personally wanted to make sure it had?
Yeah, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. That gym was in a bit of a state. There was plant pots that had no plants in on the windowsills. It was like the gym was from the 80s, because it was an old school bodybuilding gym. So it collected a lot of dust over the years, and the machines needed changing, upgrading. I think we must have spent 40,000 on just making the gym. Well, more than that now, but initially 40,000 to get the gym in a better standard. And to be fair, the gym now is at a very good standard where I'm happy enough to go in there and train and feel like all my needs are ticked off.
Yeah, right on. I have to ask you about your progress pictures, because there's always this sign, and Giles encouraged me. He says, "Look what the sign says sometime," and it says "the giant shit house." I know this is random, but I just thought that was the funniest thing. Is that actually a bathroom?
It is an outside toilet or an outside bathroom. Yeah. Old houses in the UK, so anything pre 1960s, that was a thing. They all had an outside toilet. So newer houses now don't, but this is an older house, so we have the outside shit house.
Do you have one inside too, though?
Oh yeah, we got inside. That's a good question, because people think that I just go outside to the toilet.
I'm very concerned with toilets, because Neil Hill.
Yeah.
So he had a gym in Wales for many years, I guess. I don't think he still does, but it had no bathroom. He told me. I said, I would never go to a gym without a bathroom, because, geez, if I have to poop, what am I going to do? Hold it until I'm done with the workout? Come on, Dad. That's terrible.
It was called the dungeon, wasn't it? So probably gave it away that it wasn't a nice, kept place.
Yeah, the pictures I saw of it, it looked like something out of a Hostel movie. It looked pretty scary. Yeah, because I remember Zach Kahn did some training shots there with, I think, Chris Lund or Kevin Horton shot him there, and it was creepy looking. Yeah. So let's get into your contest history a little bit. From my research, I could only find as far back as 2015, so you're already at the national level at this point, and you won, I guess, was it your first time at the British 2015?
It was, yes. I qualified as a classic competitor in 2011 and 12, but never did the finals.
Yeah.
And then 2015 qualified as a super heavyweight, did the finals and won.
Yeah. You beat, you were the first place guy, third place, Samson Dauda, sixth place, Luke Sandow. What a class.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crazy class. And then James won the year before, and that was the year he climbed Kilimanjaro and came back as the winner and didn't place. And obviously, the rest is history for James. But it was a crazy class, and now all of us are pros. And it's been a great year because now I've kind of rejoined forces and can battle it out again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The UK scene just in the last 5, 6 years. It's come up so fast because I remember for a long time there was really nobody exceptional coming out of the UK at all. But then, man, you've had quite a resurgence, quite a resurgence. So okay, you did that.
Sorry, 2015. That was the year that Sasan actually won his pro card in the heavyweights.
Right.
He won
You
the
were the
overall.
super. You were the super. He was heavy, and he got the overall. Yeah,
That's it,
he's coming back soon. I heard. I hope.
I think next year we're definitely back, which is going to be crazy for the UK scene as well.
Okay, so 2016, you did Arnold Amateur in Europe, got ninth there. You did the British again, got third, and then you disappeared for almost 2 years, correct?
Yes.
Back put on size. So how much size did you put on in those 2 years?
Well, funnily enough, in 2018 when I won my pro card, I was 285 pounds.
Yeah.
I had a great year off, great 2 years really, and put on some real good muscle. But that transcended to a difference of the British. I was 294. Wow. So we're talking £9 in 2 years, which in my eyes isn't a great deal. But the look was very, very different. I'm sure you'd agree. It was a much fuller. The level of muscle was just harder and maturer.
Yeah.
So it was only 9, but I think it was a very, very good £9 in all the right places.
That was in 2018 when you turned pro?
Yeah.
You were 294?
No, 285.
285, okay.
So to 294 this time.
Oh, right now you were 294 at these last shows. Okay, so you were right on, because I watched a couple interviews. I did a couple in 2018 with Giles. You did one with Dave Palumbo, and you said, I don't want to come back. I don't want to compete as a pro until I'm right around 300.
Yeah.
And yeah, you made it. You made it right there. Another cheeseburger. I think you would have been there. So you took off the time and you put on some good muscle, because like I said, the worst part about, you should never be able to tell if anyone's really short or really tall by looking at a picture of them alone. If you can, that means their limb proportions are off. Either they're really short, stumpy limbs, or their limbs are just way too tall and lanky. So structurally, you're in a great spot. So you just made your pro debut, Alicante, Spain, back in, I think, was that October? That was October, right?
September. You could be right. It could be October. My grasp of time this year is just completely off.
Everybody's graph. I don't even know what day it is anymore. What days? I don't even know.
Yeah.
But very impressive. 9th out of 19. I thought you could have done a little better. I mean, I would not have argued if you'd been a couple spots higher than that for sure. And then hometown turf, British Grand Prix on a Wednesday, you placed 4th. Yeah. So I never asked you, but as far as the UK, where are you in relation to London?
So it took me about 2 hours to get to the show. I'm classed as like Midlands. Okay. So London is south. I'm a bit more north.
Okay. There's nothing south of London. London's at the bottom of the island, right?
Pretty much, yeah. You got like coastal towns, but London's like pretty far south.
So you're 2 hours north of that. I think Giles is another 2 hours north of you.
That's right, yeah.
And then you're in like Scotland or something after that, probably, right?
Scotland, another 2 hours.
So I have to ask you, were you, first time you stepped on the pro stage, or even let's go to, the athletes meeting backstage and all that, when you're finally there, how did it feel for you? Did it feel real? Did it feel like it was a dream, or were you full of adrenaline? What was going through your mind and body when you were finally there after all this time?
It just felt exciting. I actually felt quite calm, like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
I've been waiting to do this for a long time. I've been trying to turn pro since 2016. Granted, I wasn't ready, but we all have to try and climb the ladder and get there eventually. Yeah. So I've done many, many shows, and I just felt, probably because I was there with guys I knew as well, James and Cuba from England, and a lot of the other UK athletes in Classic. there's a lot of guys that went out there from the UK, and maybe that kind of softened the blow a little bit. But I just wanted to enjoy it, so I went in with the attitude that this is something I'm going to enjoy. It's not something I'm going to be scared of. And yeah, I was very comfortable. And that's it. I did enjoy it from start to finish.
Yeah. Which show did you enjoy more, that or the British Grand Prix?
I think the British, because it was on home turf. I feel like I kind of entered that show knowing that, having done a show already, I'd kind of made an initial statement as such. So I felt like I was going to be judged a bit fairer, and gave some decent call-outs, which did definitely happen. And the camaraderie between the Brits as well, it's just a great show. With that, coupled with the fact that obviously it was a show that was remembering Luke, I just feel as though and it was on a Wednesday, is in a theatre that was like an old men's club. It's just a bit surreal, to be fair, but it all made the event.
Yeah. I'm curious, did you know Luke at all personally?
Yeah, me and Luke chatted quite a bit. He wasn't nowhere near as close as someone like James, but the UK guys all chatted to one another. And I think I was as shocked as everybody else as what happened. So if we can do that show as British people to remember someone as great as Luke every year, then that would be something I would love to do. So yeah, it was just great to be a part of, to be fair. Great memory that's going to stand the test of time for me and many others. Yeah.
Now, condition-wise, I thought you were just spot on. I don't think you could have been any better condition than you were, which is rare for anybody, but especially a rookie, because a lot of times it takes a few preps, especially where you came back after a couple of years with a lot more muscle tissue on you. It's always kind of tricky to try to peak a body that's got more size on it than ever had before, because you're almost dealing with a different person. Yeah. So Jordan is your prep coach, correct? Jordan Peters?
Yep.
Yeah. Were he and you both pleased with the package you brought to the shows?
Yeah, he was very pleased. I mean, I think we learnt a lot from the package in Spain. I feel in Spain that we was a shade off being ready, and wasn't tight enough from the back especially. But we did probably overcarb a little bit as well, probably slightly too full. Yeah. So for the British, we had 4 weeks to come down a little bit, make sure we was that bit sharper. And the plan, which worked in the end, was to almost steadily drip feed the carbs in, so we didn't have to heavy load. So just to give you an idea, in Spain, in the last 3 days, we probably put in 3,000 grams of carbs.
Wow.
But in the UK show, we was running in on 500s, and then we peaked it up just in the end to 750 and 1,000. So we kind of cruised in.
Do you mean 3,000 grams a day toward the end, or is that all together?
100 grams a day for the last 2 to 3 days.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to do the math here, because if you told me 3,000, I wouldn't be overly surprised, because I mean, you're a giant human being, so yeah, it wouldn't really be that shocking.
Well, that was in the last 3 days. We did 3,500 to 4,000 grams of carbs plus a burger and chips plus a pizza, because I am accustomed to a pizza to carb up on.
Right. So I'm curious, do you have a really fast metabolism? Do you have to eat a lot more than people would even imagine that you do?
Yeah, I mean, my calories in the off season this time have started off at 6,500. That's starting calories. I will soon get to a stage where that's maintenance. In the past, I have had my maintenance calories at 8,000.
Wow.
So, yeah, and that's the truth. That's why people give up, and there's not many tall bodybuilders out there, because they just can't eat consistently enough food to keep building the muscle.
Yeah, I'd say it's across the board. It's probably more true with taller bodybuilders, but in general, of all the people that quit bodybuilding, it's because of the eating. They won't do it. Yeah. I'd say, how many meals did you eat today? They say 4. I said, I told you need 6. They're like, I can't eat 6. And a couple months later, and they just drop off the face of the earth. They're done.
Yeah.
I have to ask you about the quarantine, because you're a gym owner, so you had to be affected by it. Yet, you brought the best physique of your life this year. So clearly you were able to keep your bodybuilding at a high level with your training and your eating. And that didn't seem to be impacted. But how did the quarantine affect you professionally, personally, as a business owner this year?
As a business owner, obviously, I had a big impact on the gym. Luckily, we have a membership base of very good, loyal members that have, I would say, 80% of those have kept the memberships up to support the gym, help pay the bills. So they got a gym to come back to at the end of the day. But obviously, that's helped keep stress levels down for me as well. So I've had a chance to focus on my own training. Obviously, I've had the gym to go to train myself, which has been a massive help because I know not every pro have had access to a full gym and they've had to find a gym to train at or train at home. So I've not had that issue. But yeah, it's been a test. But I think what a lot of us professional bodybuilders have, and the reason why we are where we are, is because we've all got a very positive mindset. And I think we try and turn negative situations into positive ones. And I know in prep as well, we have the blinkers on. So a lot of the times we can't see outside the box. And tunnel vision on the show is definitely what I've had this year. And it's only now I kind of have a chance to relax and look around and see the stresses outside the tunnel of bodybuilding that it's perhaps a good thing that I did have the show to focus on.
Yeah. Now I know a gym owner, and he was getting hit up. We were only shut down for, let's see, March, April, May, June. Geez, it was over 4 months. I think we were shut down here, but I know he was getting hit up all day, all night for people that wanted to sneak into the gym. And it's tough. They're putting you on the spot because if you say no, they're like, you jerk. You could just let me in the back door. Were you getting besieged by gym members saying, "Come on, Jamie, come on, let me in"?
Yes. Of course, yeah. I think I managed to get a lot of the guys off my back by loaning them equipment.
There you go.
So there was plenty of Olympic bars, plenty of Olympic plates, plenty of dumbbells. I was left with the bare essentials, but it was enough to get me by.
Yeah. So I saw a quick thing. You just did a funny thing on your Instagram with you made your wife's voice all high and you gave her a filter and I've prepped for shows. You have 2 kids. You told me ages 11 and 13, which are those are rough years. It's not rough in a bad way. It's just there's a lot going on. There's a lot of changes going on with them at that age thing.
Almost.
How do you balance being a good dad and everything while you're prepping? Because it's a very demanding sport, especially the final 4 to 6 weeks. It's 24/7.
It is, and it's very hard. And I don't pull any punches. I try and be as honest as possible because I think it's important for me to be transparent and honest with people. So, they know my character full circle and they haven't got a false impression of me.
Yeah.
And the honesty is that things do get impacted on. Things do suffer. So I am a worse dad, a worse husband, whilst I'm in this bubble, and especially in the last 6 weeks of competing, because at the end of the day, the focus is on that 100% because I need to be the best that I can be on stage. I'm a professional. This is my job. And at the end of the day, my look on stage impacts on my net worth as an athlete, as a brand. So, because the stakes are high, I think that other things can suffer and it's warranted, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, you're not alone. You're not every guy who's married with kids, who's done high level competitions probably would, if they're honest, they would say something very similar. I can say I remember screaming at my son when he was only like 3 years old one time because he spilled some donut crumbs in the back seat of my new car. And I was, looking back, I'm like, what an asshole you were, dude.
Yeah.
But and this is another thing a lot of us do you do you try to make it up to them once the shows are over? Do you plan trips and outings and things where Dad wasn't really there for you, but now I'm really going to be there for you?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's been hard this time because we've had obviously lockdown again in the UK. Yeah. So we can't go out for coffee and dinner. And I think that's a frustration. And that's why I posted the video, because my wife's been frustrated with the quick weight gain and the pump in the shins. We like tried to go out for a walk the other day and I couldn't physically walk. Wow. Because of the shin pump and the pain. And she was saying basically that I was a fat FC UK, which is funny.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. How big were you when she met you?
So when we met, I was trying to do it in pounds again. Yeah, I was about 230 pounds.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a vast difference. 90-pound difference between when we first met.
Has she ever made like comments, not necessarily snide remarks, but man, you're very different from back in, looking at old pictures or something or videos and
yeah, she's made comments and she particularly makes reference quite often to the man she married. Not the man I married.
You ate the man she married. Yeah. I didn't want to make this all about how freakishly tall you are or anything like that. So, but I do want to know, what are some like day-to-day things that are a little more challenging when you're 6'5" and 315, 320 pounds, like airlines, vehicles, public transportation? Just what are situations that it is a little challenging sometimes for you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely extra leg room is needed. The wife's peeking around the corner, I'm not quite sure. Extra leg room is definitely needed on planes, for sure. So I always try and make the extra expense to have the extra leg room. Yeah. But clothes is like the worst thing. What are you doing?
Does she want to be in the interview? That's fine. Go ahead. Bring her on.
I've only, to be fair, this is a funny story, but I've only just found a coat that will fit me. I normally ride through the winter coatless.
What?
So yeah, I've just found a coat this year that actually fits, so it's quite nice. But I'm seemingly getting like quite hot because I'm not used to wearing a coat. So the coat's like off and on. It's like I'm changing quite quickly.
You've had no winter coat all these years?
No.
It gets cold enough to snow there. I know that.
Yeah, it does. So I'm like double jumpering. I'm trying to like dress with thick t-shirts and stuff. Wow. But yeah, I struggled to find a coat. So I found one now. So I'm sorted. I'm happy.
Don't they have big and tall shops over there? No.
They are. Now the problem is
they're for fat guys.
Yeah, they don't fit right. So I like to try and ride a little bit of style, and this coat fits nice. So I'm happy.
Okay. Let's talk about the future. So I thought this was a great rookie year for you, because I assume you're done. There's no more damn shows, right? But a year ago, I don't think too many people outside the UK really had heard of you, but now you're on the map. People know who you are. And, a nickname like Jamie the Giant doesn't hurt. It's catchy. It's very catchy. Don't ever lose that nickname. No. His Instagram, guys, is awesome. AKA the Giant.
Yeah.
I guess the Giant was probably still already taken. But
yeah, somebody thought I probably would have planned this years ago, knowing that. But no, yeah, I think it all works well, for sure. Having a brand these days is definitely an important thing, especially as a professional. Just from a judging aspect as well. Being a taller guy. And James said something great to me this year. He says, Jamie, just stick at it, because what you have to do in the pro league is turn yourself from a number to a name. And I think my trajectory will be faster, because I do have something remembering, not just from a stature point of being taller and more rememberable, but from the Giant and having this kind of status and name. So, yeah, I think that's going to catch on quick.
There have been tall guys before, but they were no good. Rolf Moeller, he was, no offense, Rolf, I'm sorry, but you were a horrible bodybuilder. I mean, great actor. I loved him in Gladiator.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool guy, but he was a horrible bodybuilder. There was that guy that's a wrestler in the WWE. What the hell do they call him? Kamali, or I don't know. Yeah. He's like 7 foot. He was in the movie The Longest Yard. Again, not the greatest bodybuilder. You're the first guy of your height who's actually a really good pro, who actually has a future. Like, I could see you eventually top 5 Arnold Olympia. I could see it.
Yeah.
Whereas there's not many guys I would say that about right now. There's not many, regardless of stature. So I have to ask you, where do you want to go from here? When you look at your videos and your photos, where do you still see room for improvement? What do you want to look like the next time you get on stage?
I think this year, and definitely obviously going up against James, who won both shows that I competed in, there's a vast difference in the level of thickness and density to my physique to someone like James's. Yeah. So what I have to do now in the off season is build that thickness and density to my physique. I made a status today, and I said in that status that I wanted to be as dense as a piece of cheese. So that is where I want to take my physique. I think there's definitely room for improvement on the hamstrings, as we know, and the back. They're the two main areas that I want to bring up. The calves, I just kind of got to the stage, Ron, where the calves are the calves.
I mean, look at Rami. Come on, guy.
Yeah, calves don't win shows.
Dexter, Ronnie Coleman. There's been plenty of guys. People always say, "Well, my calves." I say, I've never seen a contest came down to this guy's got better calves ever in my life, and I've been to hundreds of them. So yeah, I wouldn't worry. They're not bad. Your calves aren't horrible. They're not like sticks. You have some muscle on them.
Yeah, they've got some muscle. They could be bigger, but hey, tell me something I didn't know.
You got that X frame, the really wide clavicles and lats, the sweeping quads, and like I said, not many people have good quad sweeping, but especially when you get to 6 foot and above, it's rare. So I think you're in a good spot. But weight wise, you did an interview a couple of years ago, said ultimately you think your final form will probably be around 320 on stage. Do you still feel that way?
I think so. Yeah, I think that give me another year. So next year I'll be competing at 305, and then it'll be the case of 310, 315, and we'll just go there. But I know that my physique at 310 to 320 will be a very, very, very good physique and a handful for many a pro competitor.
Yeah, because I mean, I hope you agree. I think you're starting. You're just entering your prime is going to last a while. It's going to probably be. It could be about a 10-year stretch, but you're just getting in there now.
Yeah.
Whereas 35 that's the age where most pro bodybuilders really start to come into their own and go from this level to that level. Yeah. So yeah, your trajectory is only going to go upward and upward. It's going to be fun to watch. Yeah. So
no, I agree, and I think this year, like you said, I've made kind of a nice impact where I've introduced myself to the pro scene. People know who I am now, not only in the UK but abroad as well. And I do believe that next year, with the improvements I know I can make, I will be chasing down that qualification for the 2021 Mr. Olympia. And that is now, I would say, the only goal for me for next year.
I want to say this to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic promoters. I know you're listening. Jim Lorimer and your crew. Yeah. This guy needs an invite right here. Him. Jamie does. Get him at the Arnold, please. If I know it's late in the game, but if they called you up tomorrow and said, Arnold Classic, Columbus, Ohio, would you do it?
Yeah, I think that's a show that you just couldn't turn down. And me and Giles have had chats about this as well. But yeah, I think although I don't feel as though my physique's ready for that stage to be competitive yet, well, you could turn that down from a standpoint of improving your profile at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, every year at that show, there's a couple guys I kind of scratch my head. Like, why'd they invite that guy? Just because he's from Russia, or just because he's from this weird country and they're trying to make it like a global thing or something? But I wouldn't, if I saw you up there, I wouldn't say, why'd they invite this guy? He's horrible. You'd fit right in. I'm not saying you're going to beat Rolly Winkler or, who else is looking to do it. I just talked to Sergio. Sergio wants to win that. Yeah, so we'll see. But you'd not be out of place, You'd fit right in. I want to let people know you're available for coaching. Now, how long this is at www, another great website name you got, team-giant.com.
Yep.
How long have you been into coaching?
So I've been coaching since mainly when I did win my British title as a super heavyweight, 2015.
Okay.
So I've been coaching at a good level for 5 years.
Yeah.
And as a bodybuilder, that has been something I've improved at year on year.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to improve from, me investing in myself from a learning standpoint as well, and working with different people over the years, and going to seminars with people like Milos and Ben Pekulski and, all these other educators that I look to improve myself on as well.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan Peters, very, very well sought after educator himself, as well. Do you work mostly with competitors, or is it lifestyle clients, or a mix of both?
It's a mix of both. And I do find that gives me a nice variety of people to kind of keep me interested as well. Because I don't think you ever want to zone yourself in just to one area.
Yeah. I mean, competitors are very, very demanding clients. We all know this.
Yeah.
They're a lot of work, especially the last few weeks.
Definitely.
Their minds are just going all over the place. So yeah, you wouldn't want all competitors. You'd lose your mind yourself.
I think so.
Well, Jamie Christian-Johal, right? I'm saying it right now?
You got it.
Have I been saying Johal the right way, or did I screw that up too?
No, that's perfect. No, that's
okay.
He's definitely pronounced in many different ways. And I know you're going to ask, but that is from Indian heritage.
I'd heard that before. So was it your stepdad?
My stepdad, yes.
Yeah.
My name before, and I think we discussed this on the Giles interview, but my name before my mum got married to my stepdad was Big.
What's what?
Big, B-I-G-G.
Oh, that was your last name?
That was my last name. I was called Jamie Big at school.
Is your first name actually James, or is it Jamie?
It's Jamie.
Jamie, okay. So your name was Jamie Big.
Jamie Big would have been a good name.
Yeah, why'd you lose that? Go back to that.
I got to tell my mother off. Yeah.
Wow. No, I didn't know that part of the story. I thought, your name was like Christian, then you changed it to Christian-Johal, but I didn't know there was a whole other last name. Wow, you must confuse a lot of people that way.
I have, because the Christian comes from my wife.
Yeah.
And that is very much about me being a modern man.
Yeah, I'll say. God love you.
It's the wife's wishes of having her name as part of our married, unified name.
Yeah. Well, eventually you might change your name to Mickey Mouse or something. You can do anything these days. Wow. Well, Jamie, thank you so much for taking the time. I've been wanting to do this interview for a while, but I felt like Giles keeps interviewing. I better wait until Giles hasn't talked to him for a little while, and then I can talk to him. So finally, thank you, Giles, for giving him a break and letting me get to him. Great debut this year. Very, very impressed. And, we're all going to be watching with great interest next year, the year after, because you're going to be getting better and better and better. And, and I'm not a tall guy, but I know you're a huge inspiration out there to so many guys who do struggle because they are 6 foot, 6'2", and it's a lot of real estate to fill out for sure, a frame like that. So they need someone like you to look up to and say, he did it. Maybe I can do it too.
Yeah. I've got, I would say, thousands of messages from taller people since I competed and become more of a household name this year. And it's very nice for me to kind of be that inspiration, I guess. And I will continue to pack on more mass and show people that it's not impossible.
Right on. Cool. Well, thank you so much, sir. Wishing you happy holidays, whatever you're going to celebrate. And that's it, guys. Go follow him, aka The Giant, on Instagram, and coaching services at www.team-giant.com. And that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching this interview with Jamie the Giant. We'll see you next time.
Ron, thank you very much.